Long before the age of dinosaurs began, before towering reptiles dominated the land and skies, there existed a world so strange and unfamiliar that it feels almost impossible to imagine. It was a time when life on Earth was still experimenting, still evolving, still searching for forms that could survive on land. The landscapes were alien, the air was different, and the creatures that moved through these environments followed rules that no longer exist today. This was the lost world before dinosaurs. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the continents were arranged differently, clustered into vast landmasses that would slowly drift apart over time. The climate was warm in many regions but not stable. Seasons were unpredictable and environments could shift dramatically over long periods. Yet within this uncertainty, life was quietly transforming the planet. At first glance, this world might seem empty. There were no familiar forests, no birds, no mammals, and certainly no dinosaurs. But look closer, and an entirely different ecosystem begins to reveal itself. The first pioneers of land were not animals but plants. Early plant life began as small, simple organisms hugging moist surfaces near rivers and coastlines. These primitive plants had no deep roots, no leaves, and no flowers. They absorbed water directly from their surroundings, surviving only in environments where moisture was constant. But even in their simplicity, they were beginning something extraordinary. Over time, these plants evolved structures that allowed them to grow taller. They developed internal systems to transport water, and primitive roots that anchored them into the soil. Slowly, they began to rise above the ground, reaching for sunlight. With each step, they transformed the barren land into something new. As vegetation spread, it began to reshape the earth itself. Roots broke apart solid rock, creating the first true soils. Organic material accumulated, forming layers that could support more complex life. The atmosphere began to change as plants absorbed carbon dioxide and released oxygen. This quiet transformation set the stage for everything that would follow. Eventually, the first forests appeared. These were not forests of oak or pine, but strange collections of early trees with unfamiliar shapes. Some had tall, straight trunks with leaves clustered at the top. Others resembled giant ferns, their fronds spreading outward in dense layers. These early forests were often found in wet, swampy regions where water was abundant and conditions were stable. The air in these forests was thick and humid. Sunlight filtered through layers of vegetation, creating a dim, green glow beneath the canopy. The ground was soft, often waterlogged, covered in decaying plant matter that would, over millions of years, become coal. But as plants spread and ecosystems grew more complex, something else began to happen. Animals followed. The first animals to venture onto land were small and cautious. Many were related to creatures that lived in water, and they still depended on moisture to survive. Among them were early arthropods, ancestors of insects, spiders, and millipedes. These creatures found shelter among the plants, feeding on organic material and each other. At first, their presence was subtle, but over time they began to diversify. Insects evolved new forms, adapting to life on land in ways that would eventually make them one of the most successful groups of organisms in Earth's history. Without birds or other aerial predators, some insects grew to astonishing sizes. Scientists believe that higher oxygen levels in the atmosphere allowed these creatures to reach dimensions that would be impossible today. Imagine dragonfly-like insects with wingspans larger than a modern bird. Giant millipedes moving slowly across the forest floor. Predatory arthropods hunting in the shadows of towering plants. This was a world where scale was different, where the boundaries of size and form had not yet been fully defined. Amphibians soon followed. These early vertebrates were among the first animals with backbones to live on land. They still relied on water for reproduction, laying their eggs in moist environments, but they were capable of moving across land in search of food and shelter. Their bodies were adapted for both worlds, bridging the gap between aquatic and terrestrial life. In the dense, swampy forests, amphibians found a perfect habitat. There was abundant water, plenty of food, and relatively few competitors. Some grew large, becoming dominant predators within their ecosystems. They hunted insects and smaller creatures, using stealth and strength to survive. As ecosystems continued to evolve, interactions between plants and animals became more complex. Plants provided food and shelter, while animals influenced plant distribution through feeding and movement. This interconnected system marked the beginning of true terrestrial ecosystems, networks of life where each part depended on the others. But this world was not permanent. The same forces that allowed it to flourish would eventually lead to its decline. As millions of years passed, the Earth's climate began to shift. Regions that had once been consistently wet started to experience periods of dryness. Swamps began to shrink, and the vast forests that depended on them started to fragment. For many of the dominant plants, this change was catastrophic. Their reproduction relied on water, and without it, their life cycles were disrupted. Populations declined, and ecosystems that had once been stable began to collapse. At the same time, new types of plants were emerging. Seed plants represented a major evolutionary breakthrough. Unlike spores, seeds could survive in dry conditions, protecting the developing plant until the environment was suitable for growth. This adaptation allowed seed plants to spread into areas where older plant types could not survive. As these new plants expanded, they began to replace the ancient forests. The change was gradual but unstoppable. Animals too were forced to adapt. Some species evolved to survive in drier environments, while others disappeared along with the habitats they depended on. Amphibians, tied closely to water, struggled as wetlands vanished. Insects diversified further, finding new ecological roles and changing landscapes. The world was shifting toward something new. Then came one of the most dramatic events in Earth's history. Around 252 million years ago, the planet experienced a massive extinction event that reshaped life on a global scale. Volcanic activity released enormous amounts of gases into the atmosphere, altering the climate in extreme ways. Temperatures rose, oxygen levels fluctuated, and ecosystems collapsed. This event marked the end of many ancient lineages. The forests that had once dominated the land were largely gone. The giant insects that had thrived in oxygen-rich air disappeared. Many amphibians vanished, unable to cope with the rapid changes. In the aftermath, the Earth was quieter, simpler, and largely empty compared to what had existed before. But from this devastation came opportunity. New groups of plants and animals began to emerge, adapted to the new conditions. Among them were early reptiles, creatures better suited to dry environments, capable of laying eggs on land without the need for water. These reptiles would eventually evolve into something entirely new: dinosaurs. The world that followed was very different from the one that came before. Forests returned, but they were composed of different plants. Animals evolved new forms, filling ecological roles left vacant by extinction. The lost world before dinosaurs did not vanish without leaving a trace. Its influence can still be found today. The coal deposits formed from ancient forests remain buried beneath the surface. The oxygen-rich atmosphere that once supported giant insects helped shape the conditions for future life. The evolutionary experiments of early plants and animals laid the foundation for the diversity that exists now. There is a quiet continuity in this story. The world before dinosaurs was not a failed attempt at life, but a necessary step in its evolution. It was a time of experimentation, of growth, and of transformation. The strange forests and unfamiliar creatures of that era were part of a larger process, one that continues even now. What makes this lost world so fascinating is not just how different it was, but how essential it was. Without it, the world that came after would not exist. And somewhere beneath layers of rock and time, its remains still lie hidden. A record of a planet that once looked nothing like the one seen today. A world before dinosaurs. A world that shaped everything that followed.